I see pocket.
Come, friends!
You got that? Wait, you actually got that?
Mullen Krill, Viscous, and Kelvin are some of the least popular characters in this game. Why? Because they're ability users. Heroes like Seven, Haze, or Vindicta are essentially in every match, while Kelvin is seldom seen. My build is called Kelvin's Aerial Bombardment, and demonstrates the perfect items to build at different stages of the game. This build focuses on Kelvin's healing grenade to both do high, consistent bursts of damage, but also make him essentially unkillable in most situations. At the start of the game, you want to focus on survivability, namely in Healing Rite and Enduring Spirit. Kelvin's Bomb is a powerful tool at literally all stages of the game. With just Mystic Burst, this is a high pressure tool that you can consistently use to keep enemies off of you. And then when you get 3 AP points, you can heal yourself. This survivability gets exemplified, leading into Divine Barrier. Divine Barrier is a 1250 item that you can either use on yourself or an ally. Like, just read these stats. This is an incredibly huge stat stick that you can keep from a lot of the game. A lot of the time, I do buy all of these first 5 early game items. Mystic Burst, obviously for the damage of the grenade, extra charge for the grenade as well, Enduring Spirit for the health and spirit lifesteal, Healing Rite for the movement speed, but also the spirit power, and the healing on yourself or allies. Monster rounds only for the bullet resist versus NPCs, so it's easier to dive towers in the early game. But if I get the small lead and I can skip to Divine Barrier, I almost always do. 1 sprint speed and 2 movement speed is a big boost in your rotation power in the early game, especially with Kelvin's Path that adds another 4 total movement speed. That is 7 movement speed that no one else is going to have. Combined with Kelvin's ult, here's a free gank opportunity that will ensure a kill and will ensure you won't die doing it. After Divine Barrier, I go into Healing Booster, and then the next star of the show, Rescue Beam. I think just because it looks like a support ability, a lot of people are very scared to get it, but have no fear, this item is busted. For starters, its ability, 26% healing amount every 26 seconds. How can you ever die? How? You have to get absolutely jumped and lose 126% of your HP and not be able to fight back. This 26% gets buffed to 32% with Healing Booster, and when you get improved cooldown, which you get pretty early, it goes down to 22 seconds. And as Kelvin, where you have your Healing Dome, you have your Healing Grenade, you have your Divine Barrier, and you have Rescue Beam, in addition to your movement, how could you die? And since you can't die, you can ensure that your allies don't die. With Kelvin's Frozen Path, anytime you see an ally in danger, you can simply put them to safety, and there's nothing they can do about it. Hold them to safety, give them a Divine Barrier, give them a bomb, give them a dome, do whatever you can to ensure they live. Rescue Beam reminds me of a character like Lifeweaver from Overwatch. When Lifeweaver first released, people absolutely hated him. 1, because he was bad, but 2, because he removed the autonomy of whoever you were pulling. If I know what I'm doing, but you don't know what I'm doing, you could think I'm doing something stupid when I'm actually doing something smart. Or I could have a play ready and you pull me out of it. You absolutely don't want to do this. If, for example, you have an ally Lady Geist, she's really low HP, yeah, you want to pull her, but she has ult. Do you want to pull her? She could be posturing to enemy team, bait them into a corner, swap health and get a free kill. You want to save people as much as possible, but you do not want to ruin someone's plan. Stopping someone's play will get them 10 times angry at you than potentially not saving them when you could have. Sometimes you have to make the executive decision, even if it's possible they can make a play from it. Sometimes it's better to just kill the enemy team or support with slows than to pull an ally out of it and completely ruin a possible plan. In this support category, you can see it's cut in half and there's a situational category. These are for your Abrams, your Lady Guys, and your Pockets. If in a later game people start buying knockdown against you, you can also get this, but it's not mandatory. Usually I get one, but sometimes I can skip it if I'm very ahead or I'm carrying the team and I don't need it. Next is the mid game. You can see I wrote down here, you prioritize cooldown, movement, and then spirit. And then when you don't have flex slots, you can get some weapon and you get whatever armor matches the enemy team carry. I usually get my armor whenever I feel like I need it. I can save this for the end of mid game. I can buy the small one earlier if lane feels a little tough, or I can buy it at the start of rotation if I see someone is farming as well as me. But you do want to prioritize cooldown because cooldown is essentially your farm because your bomb is your farm. By the time you leave lane and get a camp or two, you should be at level 5 bomb. Level 5 bomb, your damage gets a big boost. Like level 1 camps, you could one shot. Level 2 camps, you can almost two shot with just a couple of bullets. Your play should be running around under ice path, using every single movement ability you can, dropping a bomb, and keeping it moving. In addition to farming, you will be constantly ganking. Kelvin's bomb at base has a 40% slow. I don't know the actual combining slow values with multiple sources of slow, but even though they're both 40% max slow, combined, it is greater than 40%. The two slows combined together can either outright kill someone that's running away or ensure that your team can get the kill through support. Assuming you have at least one flex slot, you should be going into enduring speed. If you don't, you need to sell healing right for enduring speed because obviously this is a big boost in movement and also has slow resist, so ensure you can get away more often. And now we get our big boost in power in Surge of Power. Surge of Power is one of the most important items in our kit. I always adored this item. I loved the movement it gave, I loved the power it gave, and you know, with max cooldown, it's literally only a 2-second difference between having it and not having it. With a 6-second duration, 8-second passive cooldown, it's great. And now this item has gotten buffed. The only item in Deadlock that removed movement penalty was Fleetfoot. When using basic attacks, you could still run at full speed like you weren't attacking anything. And that was great. And now they've added to Surge of Power for abilities, which is absolutely amazing. There are two types of movement in Deadlock, and you can see it here on Enduring Speed. There's move speed and there's sprint speed. Move speed is the movement you have all the time, and sprint speed is the ramping up movement scalar that you get as you continually move. When you go into combat, your sprint speed is removed and they only rely on your move speed. With Surge of Power, you can maintain this movement speed, maintain this momentum, and continually keep going. So for example, I'm running on my path, going max speed, I see a camp, I throw my bomb, and I don't have to slow down whatsoever. I can just keep going. This is another big buff to both our farming and also to our chasing potential. Over here, I have a speed section for all the speed items that are worth for Kelvin to get. I don't always get Fortitude, but sometimes I like it. Rapid Round is a 500 item, gives a little bit of fire rate for taking out walkers, and gives one free sprint speed, which I never mind. 500, you sell for 250. It's a great item. You never mind it. By the time you get to here, especially with how buff minions are, you should have a couple flex slots, maybe 2, maybe 3. If you got an earlier one, I could recommend Enchanter's Barrier, get an extra 8% cooldown for faster rotations, faster cooldown, a little bit of power. If not, you can start going into our more expensive items. If a flex slot doesn't open up and you can't go for Improved Spirit, you can buy Alchemical Fire. I know a lot of people are very scared to use actives in this game, and I can assure you this shouldn't be an issue. As Kelvin, if you're flying through the air, You throw your bomb, you throw your Alchemical Fire at the same time, and you start beaming. It's very, very easy, very, very simple. Like, your opponent will know what to do, they'll try to skip the fire, and they won't even be fighting you. You get into a sticky situation, you're forced to use your dome. All you need to do is dome and throw Alchemical Fire at your feet. Alchemical Fire covers the entirety of his dome, and then some. So anyone that's in the dome will get destroyed. Every range increase that you get, that increases your dome range, will also increase your Alchemical Fire range at the same rate. So if you always throw it at your feet, you will always cover the entire dome, and then you can start pressuring them, constantly doing damage to them while healing, and it's a very scary situation to be in. It looks like you have an auto attack ally next to you. If you know, Alchemical Fire increases weapon damage dealt by 50% against them if they are in the radius. So it's a very, very good for your allies, very, very good damage for you. It's a great item all around. It gives some weapon power, it gives 11 spirit power, it gives some bullet health. You can use this to push walkers, but use this to push towers, use this to deny space. It's a great item. Around here, when you get to armor, you can realize you have a lot of green slots used and not a lot of space. So around here, I recommend selling the Divine Barrier and switching it out for Fleetfoot. Fleetfoot is an item I buy a lot, but it is not an item I love on everyone. I think Divine Barrier is better in like almost every way. It gets the movement innate in its item description rather than its active ability, but Fleetfoot is on a lower cooldown. It gives 3 movement speed and not any sprint speed. It gives you some ammo, which is better for pushing, and the slide distance is nothing to scratch at. Weapon damage, nothing bad. And the movement speed penalty while shooting is removed. This doesn't really matter for Kelvin. It's better on someone like Mo and Krill. But the main reason that we switched to it is because we don't really use our weapon items. We're more focused on our spirits and health items. So we use this Divine Barrier for its utility, and we use Fleetfoot for its speed later when we can no longer afford having Divine Barrier as a green slot. Our next very, very important item is Mystic Reverb. This is another big, huge step that you get in terms of damage. It gives lifesteal, it gets spirit resist, which any spirit resist you can get is great because it's a lot harder of a stat to acquire. If you read its passive, we imbue an ability, obviously our bomb, we put 40% more damage on it, which it already does a ton of damage, and add another 40% slow on top of it. So we slow it for our bomb, we slow it with Mystic Reverb, and then we can slow it for our beam if we run out of charges, and they essentially cannot move. This passive is on a 4.8 second cooldown, and our in-between bombs are on a 2.5 second cooldown. So every 2 bombs we can put a Mystic Reverb, or we could wait and use a Mystic Reverb on every single bomb for the extra damage. At this point in my build, after fully investing in my bomb, I fully invest in my path. In addition to the faster movement speed, the faster cooldowns, I also get free spirit power for both killing and for farming. 55 free spirit power is like a 6k item, and I just need to do something that I'm already doing, so it's just absolutely amazing. Improved Burst has been nerfed in a myriad of aspects, and when I explain it to you, you'd understand why I'd have it at the latter end of my build instead of in the middle of it, despite it being a 3k item. If you read the ability, Improved Burst does bonus spirit damage if you do 200 damage to it, but it's 200 damage after mitigations. So if you have something like Spirit Power, and you see if I buy Spirit Power, I get 60 spirit resist, it means that after 60% of your damage is mitigated, if you still do 200 damage to me, then you could do the bonus 9% of my max health. And until late game, you could just not be doing this. People definitely won't be doing this to you. And I've noticed that when I've had this in the mid game section, sometimes I was not getting that proc on people that were on evil playing field as me. Especially if I haven't built Surge of Power, Improved Spirit, or Mystic Vulnerability, I was not getting this Improved Burst proc. So I decided to wait until later of the build to ensure that it would always work and focus on items that can build my spirit power up so my bombs can do the damage to proc this. At this point, there's a few avenues you can decide to go. You can go into Boundless Spirit, or you can go into Escalating Exposure. I personally prefer Boundless Spirit, mainly because of the sprint speed and the big stat stick of spirit power. But Escalating Exposure can be better in some situations, especially on a slower enemy team. You throw Alchemical Fire on, you throw your bombs, and the Spirit Amp is just so great. You can just absolutely roll them. But on a quicker team where you need to be faster than them, and you need to keep up with them, I prefer Boundless Spirit. I just throw my bombs, do big damage, nothing else to worry about. I usually only pick one because you usually can't get both because you need one more active item. With a lot of bullets, I like to get return fire. This combined with the healing, the lifesteal, and the resistance throughout the build, this is a very good item to have for the rest of the game. Metal Skin, if there's a haze that is carrying the enemy team, Metal Skin is just a must. If there's a warden that's carrying the enemy team and he has like knockdown, you need Metal Skin. It's just a must have. Great item, great defense, because it's full negation of their entire moveset. Great Talon is very, very popular right now. I think he's only going to get more popular due to the buffs of items like Spiritual Overflow that are great for him and the buffs that he's received this last patch. So if the Great Talon is good, the Great Talon is getting kills, you need Lockdown to get knocked down. These first three are items I get a lot, and these next three are items I don't get frequently, but sometimes they could be useful. If you are getting hard silence and that's interrupting you, you could get silence to remove their abilities. This could be helpful, this could not. If you do not need to counter anyone, that's the only way I would recommend getting Refresher. Just do more for yourself, which is more for your team, but this is only if you're absolutely rolling and there's something that an enemy team can do. These are almost a never get, but I just have them here because there's a chance you could get them and it could make sense, but you essentially would never get them. Now that you got your last big spirit item, the only thing left to get is to replace these early game weapon items that you didn't really need to replace before because you weren't pulling weapon anyway. If you go to shop with a large amount of souls, you can go straight for Spiritual Overflow. Great item, 15% cooldown, plus spirit lifesteal, and 50 power, and 35 fire rate. That's great for taking out the last couple towers. Great item, take out monster rounds, who cares about that? I always say rapid rounds as the absolutely last thing I want to remove because I never mind the sprint speed. It's a small little item, doesn't matter, but I would replace this with something like either Soul Strider bullets for the extra spirit lifesteal if you need it, but I like Frenzy because of the 45 bullet resist. If the enemy team has a lot of bullet, you never mind having the extra bullet resist, extra movement, defend yourself, get more healing, and then spin back on the fight. This is usually the end game that I'm going for, barring different characters that I need to counter. Obviously, if there's no one that has a big amount of healing like Abrams or McGinnis, I wouldn't get Healbane. If there's a pocket at an enemy team and he's pressuring me a lot with his ultimate, I'd get something like Debuff Remover. This build is very malleable to adapt to the enemy team, but it has a lot of easy parts that you can always put on no matter what. The playstyle of this build has you continually over the enemy's head, raining down bombs from the sky. Especially if you get knocked down for a Fed Vindicta or a Great Talon, there's no one that can compete with you in the sky. When pushing with your team, you divert attention and damage because you're both moving at high speeds, you're moving at an elevation that no one else is at, and you're also killing people that are trying to run away, while also slowing down enemies so that your team can capitalize on it. Now, what are the counters to this build? This build thrives in the sky because the only people that can counter you are on the ground. The absolute worst counter by far is Lady Geist. If she's on the enemy team, you should never be near her. And in most situations, it's pretty easy to do that, but in some situations, you have to. One thing you gotta look out for though is greed when chasing kills. The only way to die is when you can't use your abilities. You can heal through almost anything, but a Lady Geist that silences you kind of ruins the whole plan. As you can see in this clip here, pushing this Paradox, I go in the building because I know that I can kill her. I don't care about the consequences, I just keep pushing. She swaps me, places her wall down, I jump through it, I get silenced once. I get silenced again by Lady Geist. I get stunned, and there's nothing I could have done. If I pressured her and let it go when she went in the building, I would have been absolutely fine. Or if I just didn't jump through the wall to try and chase the kill, I would have been fine. I could have been paying attention to the minimap and saw that no one was really on the map except for the enemy team, and I could have stopped there. But I decided to continually keep pushing, and that led to my death. Overall, however, this is very easy to mitigate, and I implore you to check it out. Once again, this is the Kelvin Aerial Bombardment build by me, QQ, and I honestly just want to see more people playing Kelvin. This build is very fast and high octane in every department, and it'd be great to have an ally like this or on the enemy team. This is my very first video of my first try on content creation. This is a brand new channel, and if you enjoyed the video and want to see more like it, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 100 subs by the end of 2024, and write a comment for what you want to see next. I already have a Moan Crow video in the works, and he's actually my most played character, with Kelvin being my second. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.